So, you want to own a Chick-fil-A, pay $10,000, walk into a fully built restaurant, hire a team, sell chicken sandwiches to a line of customers that already stretches around the building. Collect your share of the profit and spend Sunday explaining to everyone that yes, the restaurant really is closed. That is the picture. Here is the problem. You do not own the land. You do not own the building. You do not own most of the equipment. You cannot freely sell the restaurant later. You cannot pass it to your children like a normal business. Chick-fil-A collects a fee tied to sales, then receives half of the remaining defined profit, and most operators spend their careers running only one location. A successful Chick-fil-A operator does not become wealthy by owning the restaurant. They become wealthy by controlling what happens inside a restaurant someone else owns. The brand matters, the chicken matters, but the operation is the business. And that operation creates a strange contradiction. Chick-fil-A removes many of the risks that destroy restaurant owners. It also removes much of the ownership reward. You can enter one of the highest volume restaurant systems in America with only $10,000. But after years of building sales, training employees, and improving the location, you may leave without a restaurant to sell. That is how Chick-fil-A can offer one of the cheapest entry fees in franchising. It is also why the opportunity may be far more expensive than it looks. So let us build a Chick-fil-A from the beginning and watch the money move, not the sandwich, the system behind it. Before you open the door, forget the normal image of a franchise. There is no empty building waiting for you to fill, no menu to invent, no local brand to create, no construction loan with your house attached to it, no months spent trying to persuade customers that your new restaurant deserves to exist. Chick-fil-A selects the site. It controls the brand, it develops the menu, it provides the operating system, it arranges the major equipment, it supplies national advertising, technology, training, distribution, and a customer base that already knows exactly what it wants. The company brings the capital-intensive machine. The operator brings the person required to run it. That is the first thing to understand. Chick-fil-A is not mainly selling a franchise. It is recruiting an operator. The $10,000 fee receives all the attention because it sounds absurdly low. A conventional fast food franchise may require hundreds of thousands of dollars in liquid assets before the conversation even begins. Then come real estate costs, construction, equipment, opening inventory, insurance, professional fees, payroll, and enough working capital to survive while customers slowly discover the location. Even with financing, the owner may place a large amount of personal wealth at risk before the first sandwich is sold. Chick-fil-A reverses the arrangement. The company funds or controls much of the expensive physical infrastructure. The operator is expected to contribute something harder to finance: time, attention, judgment, leadership, and the willingness to make one restaurant the center of their working life. Chick-fil-A expects operators to work full-time and remain closely involved in daily operations. New applicants are generally selected for one restaurant. They cannot buy 10 territories simply because they have enough money. They are not supposed to maintain several other active businesses while treating the restaurant as one more investment. This is not a franchise for someone who wants to place a general manager inside, check a dashboard twice a month, and call the income passive. Chick-fil-A is not impressed that you can write the $10,000 check. It wants to know whether you can keep a restaurant functioning when lunch arrives. 3 employees call out, the milkshake machine stops cooperating, and a customer has ordered enough catering to affect local poultry markets. The fee buys access. Your performance keeps the access valuable. But before we examine the operator, we need to understand the restaurant. Imagine you are assigned a successful freestanding location. In 2025, qualifying freestanding and drive-through only Chick-fil-A restaurants reported average annual sales of roughly $9.16 million. The median was slightly above $9 million. Some locations produced far more. That number becomes even more impressive when you remember that the restaurant is closed every Sunday. Remove 52 Sundays from the year. That leaves about 313 operating days before accounting for additional closures. A restaurant generating $9.16 million across 313 days averages roughly $29,000 every day it opens. That is around $176,000 per 6-day week. From chicken sandwiches, nuggets, fries, drinks, breakfast, catering, and sauces customers collect with the urgency of emergency medical supplies. This is not a normal restaurant. It is a high-volume processing facility with a drive-through. The customer sees a counter, a kitchen, and a parking lot. The operator sees capacity. How many orders can the kitchen accept at once? How many cars can enter the site? How many employees must be positioned before the rush begins? How many sandwiches can be assembled without reducing quality? How long can the line become before customers drive away? How many mistakes can happen before remakes and refunds begin erasing the profit from the original order? The restaurant does not merely sell food, it converts demand into completed transactions. That conversion is the real product. A normal independent restaurant has to create demand. It develops a concept, builds awareness, pays for advertising, experiments with menus, collects reviews, offers discounts, waits for word of mouth, and hopes enough people eventually develop strong feelings about its particular interpretation of lunch. A Chick-fil-A operator often inherits the opposite problem. The demand already exists. Customers arrive because the brand has already performed the expensive work of becoming familiar. The operator does not have to convince people to want the product. The operator has to prevent all those people from damaging the experience while trying to buy it. More demand sounds automatically profitable. It is not. Demand only creates profit if the restaurant can process it efficiently. Imagine 20 cars entering the drive-thru within 2 minutes. Each order begins as a different request. One person wants a sandwich with no pickles. Another wants 12 nuggets with 3 sauces. Someone wants a drink with almost no ice. A family orders 6 meals. A customer changes the order after paying. Another reaches the window and begins searching for a wallet with the focus of an archaeological excavation. Each transaction has to move through several stages: order entry, payment, kitchen preparation, assembly, drinks, sauces, packaging, verification, delivery to the correct vehicle. If one stage slows down, the entire line begins storing unfinished work. Cars stop moving. New customers cannot enter. Employees rush. Mistakes rise. Orders are remade. Food is wasted. Customers become irritated. Managers leave their assigned roles to solve immediate problems. The restaurant may have more customers than ever and still become less profitable. That is the first trap. Volume does not rescue a weak system. It exposes it. At $29,000 in average daily sales, 1 percentage point matters. 1% of $9.16 million is more than $91,000. If slow service, inaccurate orders, food waste, overtime, or weak scheduling move the economics by only 1 point, the result can equal the annual salary of a full-time employee. Move 3 points in the wrong direction, and more than $250,000 has shifted. Nothing dramatic has to happen. The building does not need to catch fire. Customers do not need to disappear. The restaurant simply becomes slightly less efficient. That is enough. The operator is not chasing dollars one sandwich at a time. The operator is defending percentages across millions of dollars in sales. That is why the employee standing outside with a tablet matters. The customer sees personal service. The operator sees an earlier point of order entry. If the employee takes the order before the car reaches the menu board, the kitchen receives more time. The payment can happen before the window. Food can be prepared while the customer continues moving through the line. The parking lot becomes part of the kitchen. The vehicle becomes a tray moving through a conveyor system. Every extra second between order entry and pickup increases the restaurant's ability to prepare the food before the car arrives. The outdoor employee is not only being friendly, they are shifting work upstream. That matters because the drive-through window may be one of the restaurant's most valuable pieces of real estate. If each car occupies the window for an additional 30 seconds, the delay compounds through every car behind it. A small hesitation becomes a long line. A long line becomes lost capacity. Lost capacity becomes lost revenue. The customer believes the restaurant is selling speed. The operator is manufacturing time, and time has a labor cost. A high-volume Chick-fil-A requires a large team. Employees take orders outside, process payments, prepare chicken, cook fries, assemble sandwiches, fill drinks, pack bags, handle catering, clean the dining room, clean the kitchen, restock supplies, receive deliveries, train new workers, supervise shifts, resolve mistakes, and explain with remarkable patience that the restaurant still does not open on Sunday. Labor is not merely another expense. It is the mechanism that converts customer demand into revenue. Too little labor and service slows. Too much labor and payroll consumes the margin. The operator is always balancing between two expensive mistakes. Schedule too few people, and the restaurant cannot process the rush. The line grows. Orders take longer. Employees become overwhelmed. Accuracy falls. Managers step into hourly positions. Closing tasks run late. Overtime rises. Customers leave, schedule too many people, and the restaurant feels calm. Service may be excellent. The team may even finish the shift with energy remaining. Then the payroll report arrives and reveals that calm has become one of the restaurant's most expensive menu items. The operator has to predict demand before demand appears. Weather matters. School schedules matter. Local sports matter. Holidays matter. Road construction matters. Promotions matter. Catering orders matter. One unexpected bus can matter. The restaurant is selling chicken. The operator is forecasting human movement. Then comes training. Hiring someone does not instantly create productive labor. A new employee has to learn the menu, technology, food safety requirements, customer service standards, kitchen positions, and the sequence of movements that experienced workers perform automatically. During training, a person may occupy a position while still requiring help from someone else. The payroll cost appears immediately. The full productivity arrives later. If experienced employees leave, the restaurant loses more than a name on the schedule. It loses speed, accuracy, judgment, informal leadership, and the ability to recognize problems before they become visible to customers. Turnover appears in many places at once: recruiting cost, training hours, slower service, more mistakes, manager attention, employee frustration, overtime. The cost is spread across the operation, which makes it easy to underestimate. A restaurant with strong managers can run well without the operator personally solving every problem. A restaurant with weak managers turns the operator into emergency backup for every position. That distinction decides whether the operator owns a demanding business or a demanding business owns the operator. Now let us follow the money. Start with $100 in sales. The exact accounting under Chick-fil-A's agreement contains defined terms and adjustments, so this is a simplified model rather than a prediction of any operator's income. But the structure explains where the money goes. The base operating service fee is generally tied to 15% of gross receipts, with certain adjustments described in the agreement. From the original $100, roughly $15 goes toward that fee. Then the restaurant has to pay for the operation itself: food, labor, payroll-related costs, occupancy charges, insurance, maintenance, utilities, cleaning, technology, supplies, waste, repairs, local expenses, management. Suppose those operating costs consume $75 from the original $100. $15 went toward the base operating service fee. $75 went toward operating the restaurant. $10 remain. Chick-fil-A then receives half of the defined net profit. The operator receives the other half. $5 from the original $100 reaches the operator. At $9.16 million in annual sales, 5% would equal roughly $458,000 before personal taxes and any additional adjustments. That is a substantial income. Now change one number. Suppose operating costs rise from 75% of sales to 78%. The restaurant still generates $9.16 million. The drive-thru still looks full. The brand still appears successful. Customers still assume the operator is personally converting chicken into private jet fuel. But now only $7 remain from the original $100 after the simplified operating costs and base fee. Split the remaining amount in half. The operator receives $3.50. At $9.16 million in sales, the operator's simplified share falls to approximately $321,000. 3 percentage points reduced the operator's portion by roughly $137,000. Same restaurant, same sales, same number of customers, a very different year. This is the real financial engine. Chick-fil-A already created the large revenue number. The operator's income is determined by what survives: a few points of labor, a few points of food cost, waste, repairs, overtime, staffing, productivity. The operator lives inside the gap between revenue and cost. That gap may look small on a percentage basis. At $9 million, it becomes enormous. This explains why Chick-fil-A places so much emphasis on selecting the operator. The company is contributing the brand, physical location, systems, and capital structure. It needs someone who will notice small operational failures before those failures become expensive percentages. A distant investor might see that labor is within the annual budget. A hands-on operator may notice that the morning schedule starts too early, the dinner shift stays too late, one manager is overstaffing quiet hours, and new employees are being trained during the busiest part of lunch. A distant investor may see food cost rising by 1 point. A local operator may discover that portions are inconsistent, orders are being remade, inventory counts are weak, and one piece of equipment is causing waste. The difference is attention. Attention becomes margin. Margin becomes operator income. If you like seeing how ordinary businesses hide their real economics, subscribe to the hidden bill, because the 15% service fee looks like the expensive part. It is not. The expensive part is everything the operator fails to notice. Now the restaurant needs a reliable team. This is where the business becomes less like owning a food counter and more like running a small institution. A high-volume location may employ a large number of people across different shifts, age groups, schedules, and levels of responsibility. Some workers are full-time, some are part-time, some are students, some are future managers, some are still deciding whether appearing for Saturday's shift is more of a firm agreement or a philosophical suggestion. The operator has to create a leadership structure: team members, trainers, shift leaders, directors, managers. The exact titles vary, but the principle remains. The operator cannot personally supervise every transaction. The business has to reproduce the operator's standards through other people. That is difficult because standards are often invisible until they fail. A clean dining room is expected. An accurate order is expected. A polite employee is expected. A fast drive-through is expected. Customers only notice these systems when one stops working. The restaurant's reputation depends on thousands of ordinary actions performed correctly by people the operator cannot watch every second. That makes culture an economic asset. A strong culture reduces supervision. Experienced employees correct small mistakes. Managers solve problems without waiting for permission. Workers train each other. People remain longer. The restaurant becomes more predictable. A weak culture creates the opposite. Problems travel upward. Managers avoid responsibility. Experienced workers leave. New workers are trained by people who are also still learning. The operator becomes the only person holding the system together. The restaurant may still generate millions in sales, but the operator's life becomes the hidden operating expense. This is why Sunday matters. Closing one day each week gives employees and operators something unusual in fast food: a predictable interruption. The public sees a lost sales day. The company sees part of its identity. The operator may see both. Closing Sunday compresses demand into 6 days. The restaurant loses potential Sunday sales. It may also gain employee goodwill, scheduling predictability, brand differentiation, and a weekly period without ordinary customer traffic. But closed does not mean non-existent. Equipment may need service. Schedules must be built. Hiring continues. Payroll continues. Inventory continues. Planning continues. Managers communicate. Monday is still approaching. The fryer rests. The spreadsheet remains fully operational. Now we reach the question that makes the entire model controversial. What does the operator own? Not the brand, not the land, not the building, not most of the equipment, not a transferable right to sell the restaurant to the highest bidder. The operator owns the local operating company and employs the restaurant's workers, but the larger asset remains controlled by Chick-fil-A. That is very different from a normal franchise. A traditional franchise owner may contribute far more capital. They may purchase or lease the property, finance construction, buy equipment, provide opening inventory, carry debt, guarantee leases, accept the risk that the location never reaches its sales target. In exchange, the owner usually receives more control over the asset. If the restaurant becomes profitable, the business may become valuable. The owner may sell it, transfer it, bring in a partner, refinance it, pass it to family, open additional units. Annual profit is only one source of wealth. The business itself may become the larger source. Chick-fil-A changes the equation. The operator contributes far less initial capital. The company retains control of the expensive asset. The operator receives access to the income. The company retains much of the exit value. This is not automatically unfair. The $10,000 fee is not the cost of creating the restaurant. The complete investment required to establish a Chick-fil-A can range from hundreds of thousands to more than $2 million depending on the format and location. Chick-fil-A is contributing or controlling the expensive part. The operator's low cash requirement exists because someone else supplied the capital. But that produces the largest hidden bill in the agreement. The operator may spend years improving a restaurant without building a normal saleable business asset. Imagine 2 people. Each operates a successful restaurant for 15 years. Each earns $350,000 annually. The first owns a conventional franchise. At the end of 15 years, the first owner sells the restaurant for several $1,000,000. The second operates a Chick-fil-A. At the end, the second operator leaves without a comparable sale price for the location. Their annual incomes were identical. Their final wealth is not. The Chick-fil-A operator has to convert income into outside assets, investments, real estate, retirement accounts, savings, a diversified portfolio, because the restaurant itself may never become the retirement asset. The operator can become wealthy, but the wealth has to leave the restaurant before the operator does. That changes the meaning of the opportunity. If you compare Chick-fil-A with a traditional franchise, the model can look restrictive. If you compare it with a career, it can look extraordinary. Suppose you are an experienced manager. You understand operations. You can lead a large team. You can manage expenses. You can develop people. You can make decisions under pressure. But you do not have $2 million available to build a restaurant. A normal franchise may require capital you do not possess. The bank wants collateral. The franchisor wants proof of liquidity. The landlord wants guarantees. Construction requires cash long before revenue exists. Your leadership ability may be valuable. It does not pour concrete. Chick-fil-A allows the operator to contribute human capital instead. You provide the execution. Chick-fil-A provides the platform. For $10,000, you may gain access to a restaurant producing millions in sales and potentially hundreds of thousands in annual operator income. You do not receive the same equity, but you did not contribute the same equity. That is the trade. Chick-fil-A keeps the physical and brand value because Chick-fil-A supplied and controls the physical and brand system. The operator receives part of the profit because the operator supplies the daily judgment required to make the system perform. This is why Chick-fil-A limits expansion for most operators. A traditional franchise system may reward owners for accumulating locations. One store becomes 5, 5 become 20. Regional managers create distance between the owner and daily operations. Scale improves purchasing, administration, and management efficiency. The owner becomes a capital allocator. Chick-fil-A generally prefers a different structure. Most operators run one restaurant. Some high-performing operators receive additional opportunities, but new applicants are not buying an unlimited territory. The company wants the operator close to the operation. Chick-fil-A scales nationally. The operator concentrates locally. Corporate controls the network. Each operator protects one point in that network. This gives the company the motivation of local ownership without surrendering the major asset. The operator receives the income potential of ownership without supplying the usual capital. The company gets a person who cares about every percentage point. The operator gets a platform that would be extremely expensive to build alone. The arrangement aligns incentives, at least while the restaurant is healthy, because the operator shares the remaining profit. Better performance can create better income. But that also means weak performance reaches the operator quickly. If labor rises, the operator feels it. If food waste rises, the operator feels it. If managers leave, the operator feels it. If the drive-through slows, the operator may lose both sales and margin. The company has capital at risk. The operator has time and income at risk. That is a very different form of leverage. A traditional franchise owner may lose money through debt. A Chick-fil-A operator may lose money through opportunity cost. Suppose the restaurant performs poorly for several years. The operator may not face the same enormous construction loan as a conventional owner, but they may have spent those years running a demanding operation for far less income than expected. Their capital loss is limited. Their life loss is not refundable. That is why the model depends so heavily on fit. Someone who wants passive income will hate it. Someone who wants maximum control will hate it. Someone who wants to build a portfolio of transferable businesses will hate it. Someone who wants to experiment with products, branding, suppliers, or pricing will quickly discover that the fences around their entrepreneurship are very real. But someone with limited capital and exceptional operating skill may see one of the best opportunities available to them. The same contract can be a trap or a gift. It depends on what the applicant is trying to buy. Now let us run the business in two versions. In the strong version, Chick-fil-A assigns you a high-demand location. You recruit carefully. You retain experienced employees. You develop managers who can run shifts without constant intervention. Labor is matched closely to demand. Training happens before employees are placed into high-pressure roles. Food waste remains controlled. Orders move quickly. Customers return. Catering grows. The restaurant remains clean and accurate even during the rush. Sales remain high. Operating costs remain disciplined. After the fees and profit split, the operator earns several $100,000. The operator saves aggressively and invests outside the restaurant. Over time, the income creates a portfolio independent of Chick-fil-A. The restaurant never becomes the operator's asset, but the cash generated from operating it becomes the operator's wealth. In the weak version, the restaurant begins with strong sales. The parking lot looks successful. The drive-through remains full, but employee turnover rises. New workers are constantly being trained. Managers become exhausted. The operator schedules extra labor to protect service. Payroll increases. Mistakes create remakes. Food waste rises. Equipment problems are repaired late. Overtime grows. The restaurant still produces millions in revenue. Customers still assume it is enormously profitable, but a few percentage points have shifted. The remaining profit shrinks. Then the operator's half shrinks again. The restaurant is busy. The operator is exhausted. The income no longer justifies the commitment. Nothing dramatic appears from outside. The building is still there. The line is still long. The logo is still famous. But the margin that made the opportunity attractive has quietly disappeared. That is the true volatility of a Chick-fil-A. The business rarely fails because customers suddenly forget they enjoy chicken sandwiches. It fails for the operator through accumulation. One extra labor point, one waste point, one maintenance problem, one weak manager, 1 hour of slow throughput repeated across hundreds of days. The demand remains visible. The profit disappears inside the operation. So, can operating a Chick-fil-A make you rich? Yes. A strong operator at a successful location can earn an exceptional income with far less initial capital than a conventional restaurant owner would normally need. The operator receives national brand recognition, established customer demand, a proven menu, sophisticated logistics, technology, training, and a physical location financed or controlled by Chick-fil-A. The opportunity can create income that might take decades to reach in a conventional career. But the $10,000 franchise fee is not the true price. The true price is full-time commitment, limited control, restricted expansion, half of the remaining defined profit, and the ownership value the operator may never receive. That is the final contradiction. Chick-fil-A reduces the financial risk of owning a restaurant by reducing how much of the restaurant you own. The company removes the large opening bill. Then it sends a different bill every day. Your attention, your judgment, your reputation, your time. The operator does not become successful because Chick-fil-A sells a famous sandwich. The operator becomes successful because thousands of orders move through a complicated human system without damaging the margin. The brand fills the parking lot. The operator turns the parking lot into profit. The $10,000 fee opens the door. The work determines whether anything valuable comes through it. A Chick-fil-A operator does not become wealthy by owning the building. They become wealthy by making the building perform. The customer sees the sandwich. Chick-fil-A owns the machine. The operator owns the responsibility, and the responsibility is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, right up until the moment it is not.